When I first started to work with couples, I focused on the kind of the key issues, things like positive interactions, healthy communication, managing conflict, forgiveness, trust, sex, all of those. And these are great things to help couples to apply to their relationship. However, I noticed a common theme inside of all of these topics. That's emotions. Couples struggle to react to their emotions in a healthy way. They become triggered and then their behavior becomes harmful. And I realized that the core of a relationship is emotion. Dr. John Gottman is one of the top marriage researchers in the world, and he says that the secret to making a marriage work is surprisingly simple. The secret is to have an emotionally intelligent marriage. And the more emotionally intelligent a couple is, the better they're able to understand, love, honor, respect, and to live happily ever after. And the Bible teaches us to love, honor, and respect. And couples struggle because they don't react well to their own emotional triggers. Instead, they criticize, defend, stonewall, and show contempt. So how do we get out of a negative pattern and move to actually being loving with our partners? Emotional intelligence plays a part in our marriage connection, and the more emotionally intelligent we can be, the better able we are to manage our relationships. So according to Daniel Goleman, he's a psychologist. He wrote a groundbreaking book on emotional intelligence, and there are 5 domains. And this is helpful to me when I mentor couples. Usually one or both of the individuals are struggling with one or more of these areas. So the first one is self-awareness of your own emotions. And this is an area where people struggle. I mean, do you recognize your own emotions as they happen? And I've met a number of people that can't explain how they feel. And people that are able to process their own emotions are better able to understand themselves. And if you can't understand yourself, how will your partner ever understand you? The second domain is managing your own emotions. So this is certainly a key with couples. When we aren't able to manage our emotions, we allow them to influence our behavior. In Ephesians, it says, in your anger, do not sin. In other words, don't let your emotions cause your behavior to become destructive. People that are proficient in managing their emotions are better able to handle the stress and challenges of life. The third domain is motivating yourself. And this is all about managing your emotions in a way that moves you toward a goal. So in marriage, a fantastic connection is our goal. And this means delaying self-gratification and stifling our impulses. So let's say, you've set a goal to have a better marriage. It means that at times you're going to have to choose to serve your spouse over your own desires. In other words, we put off our own self-gratification. And that helps you to accomplish your goal of a better relationship. 4 is recognizing emotions in others. And this is empathy. This is a fundamental skill inside a marriage. Can you recognize the emotions of your spouse? Can you validate what they're feeling? And one of the exercises that we have couples do is to validate their spouse's emotion. Recognizing emotion in others does not always come naturally. And I've watched a number of couples that struggle to recognize what their spouse is feeling. So their spouses don't feel understood. And the connection suffers. So 5 is handling relationships. This is the next step in working with others. Are you able to manage the emotional issues that come up with others? So as we interact with people, they're going to have emotions. And once you recognize their emotions, how do you react? What do you do when your spouse is upset? What can you do to help your spouse at that moment? And we want to do a better job of managing conflict inside of our marriage, right? So learning how to do this effectively is a combination of managing yourself and responding appropriately to your spouse. So here's kind of my conclusion. Emotions are a complicated topic for me. And for the first 35 years of my life, I did not deal very well with them, but I've grown in my own emotional intelligence. And so I like these 5 domains. It helps me to break emotions into these different areas. And first, it's recognizing your own emotions and learning to manage them. Then it's understanding your spouse's emotions and learning to respond well and respond appropriately. So there's been a great deal that's been written about emotional intelligence. And the good news is that these are skills that you can learn and improve. So as we coach couples, we teach couples the skills of recognizing and managing emotions. So let me give you some tips. First, Make emotions part of the dialogue. It's easy for couples to get caught up in the conflict and not work on the emotions. So for example, you can argue about who's going to walk the dog, but more importantly, it's recognizing the emotions that fuel that argument. 2, encourage people to recognize their own emotions. And we do this by asking them how they feel. At times, I'll be honest, people don't really like this much. And sometimes we need to explain to them the value of dealing with their own emotions. 3, encourage couples to validate their partner. People feel more connected when their thoughts and their emotions are understood. So those 3 tips again: make emotions part of the dialogue. 2, encourage people to recognize their own emotions, and encourage couples to validate their partner's emotions.